Hello, this is Kathy from the Daily Marker. How are you today? Today, my post is part of Simon's Stamp blog hop, and I created a few cards I want to share with you. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm using this Bouquet of Thanks stamp from Simon's Stamp, and I inked all of these up on some watercolor paper. I love this heart die cut that they have as well. So I'm not sure which direction I'm going or which is going to be my favorite card. But I stamped them all on watercolor paper, and I'm using Tim Holtz watercolor paper and VersaFine black ink. I have a regular paintbrush here, and I'm coloring a halo. I love to color halos around images, so I've never been able to quite achieve that look that I do with Copics with watercolor markers. So I just kind of figured this out. So I'm drawing the halo with the marker, and then I'm wetting it and pulling that color down. The paper is dry. I'm starting with the marker, and then I'm wetting the paper. So you can see I just do that. Now I'm going to speed this, like always, my videos, to save time. I get my point across, and then I speed it up. So I'm just doing my typical halo around this image, and then I'm wetting the brush and pulling that color down. If I have too much water on the brush, I'm dabbing it off on my towel here. Now I have a little bit of a cold, kind of a dumb time of year to have a cold, so bear with me. And I'm going to show you, I also stamped the same bouquet. I wanted to make a fun background with it. But before I do that, I just needed one more color here. So I'm pulling in some of the purple. These are Zig Clean Color, whatever they're called. I'll link it in the supplies. So I'm just putting a little line of purple, and then I'm using some water. The paper's still damp. And I'm just pulling a little bit of that purple into the blue just to give it a little bit more interest. I always love to mix a little bit, another color in just for a little bit of interest. I've recently done 2 other videos using the Zig watercolor markers, and you can get such a nice vibrant color, and they're wonderful to travel with. One of the best things is you don't really have to worry too much about the colors mixing. Like you can watercolor a petal, and if you don't use a ton of water, you can watercolor the petal next to it right away, like I'll be doing today. If I was using something else, I would skip around the petals and use different colors. Let them dry before I would do the petal next to it because the colors might run. Now I wanted to show you, now I've gone ahead and outlined this entire background that I stamped, and I just want to show you, this came together very quickly, and I like the halo that it achieved. And a halo to me is just like where there's like a glow of darker color around the image. So, if I have too much water, I'm dabbing that water off, or if I'm picking up too much color, I'm dabbing some of that color off too, because I do want a lighter area, a sweet spot somewhere within the section that I'm coloring. I'm kind of watercoloring this in sections. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this up. And while you watch me finish this panel, I'm not going to show you how I finished the card. I stamped the sentiment on some white paper, and I free cut like a little banner, and then I mounted on some black paper, put some foam on the back, and then I colored some twine and tied a bow around it, and I'm going to pop that on my card, which you saw. But I just wanted to share a little bit of what I was doing. So I always like to, once it's almost dry, stick it in a book, and it kind of flattens, it dries flat. For some reason that works really well. I went and made lunch, and now I'm ready to color my petals. Oh, except for this one, I'm just using some water and tapping my brush, and I'm going to set this aside to dry just so I have some water droplets, and I'll paint this background while that other one dries. So if you subscribe to my videos, you'll see that I just posted a video on using these markers. So this will just be a little refresher. I just wanted to share how I did the backgrounds. But the petals, I'm coloring the same way that I did the background. I'm just putting a line of the color and on dry paper, and then I'm using a damp brush to move that color down the petal and to create like a sweet spot, a lighter area on each petal. I'm not worrying where the light is coming from or anything. I'm just coloring a line of color in the same area of each petal. When it's a large petal, you can put a line of color and then wet the opposite area with the marker and then pull that color down. So just experiment and play around. These are very forgiving. Some of the color does pull down a little bit easier, but they're just so vibrant and easy to use and really enjoyable. And I think I'm only using like 5 colors here today for all 3 cards. I don't know if I'll finish all 3, but I'm going to help. Well, I have a funeral to go to, so I'm making this card for that. I thought a cheery, bright card would be perfect for a very sad day. So I'm just finishing my petals here, and later I'm going to bring another color in. And you don't have to wait for the petals to dry before you do that. You can either wait or do it when they're damp. You just don't want to, you can always add water, but you don't want to add too much water. So always have a towel nearby to dab some of that color off or dab some of that water off so you can control the spreading of the color better. I hope that makes sense. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish this. And then once everything's dry, I'm going to, you know how I like to outline things. I'm going to outline some of the petals, but I will be each stamen in the center of the flowers. I'll be going over that for sure and adding a big, big black dot and then putting a white dot on top of the black dot and then a tiny black dot on top of the white dot. So a dot on a dot on a dot. But you'll see that. So now I'm bringing in some yellow. Sorry about that. I have my phone up loud because I was waiting for her text. So I'm bringing some yellow in here, and I'm just using a damp brush. The paper's slightly damp, and see how it just gives a little bit more interest? So I'll be using a little bit of purple on the red, some red on the orange, and then yellow on the orange. There's a darker and a more of a medium tone orange. And this, believe it, this is very quick. You almost are scribbling the color on the petals. I promise it's very quick. Okay, so I'm just finishing that up. And my sister-in-law is coming to, I'm really hurrying to get this done, and fortunately this is very forgiving, and it's like, again, scribbling the color on there. So she came to pick up Max, and now this is dry. I put it between the pages again, and I'm just going over some of the petals. That VersaFine ink is so nice and dark black, but sorry, my hand is covering that, but you can see I'm going over the stamen, those squiggles in the center of the flower, and I'm making those darker and then adding that big black dot. I just think it adds so much interest to do that in each flower. You can also add more if you love the way that looks. Feel free to always add your own spin. You really can't mess things up. If it's consistent, it'll look good. So now I always like to start the white gel pen on my finger, and I'm adding white dots to the center of those, and then I'll add a little tiny black dot on top of those. And if I get some white, if I pick up a little bit of that white gel pen on my Sharpie fine tip marker, I'll just scribble it off on the side. Super easy. So that's it. I hope you picked up a few tips. Have a great day, and I'm linking the supplies below. Thank you for watching always.